I want to start this video off by first saying that I'm sorry. I'm truly and deeply sorry for these tweets that I put out. They were reckless, they were careless, and they were insensitive on my end. And I deeply regret putting them out there. There was just no excuse for me to put this out there into the world. And even though I knew what I was getting into with this stance, I don't know why I ended up putting it out there, and I don't know why I had faith in Netflix, but now that I've learned from my mistakes and with the weight of that failure on my shoulders, I'll carry that weight. And I hope that you all will allow me to repent and allow me to make up for the mistakes that I've made. Because holy shit, this new Cowboy Bebop from Netflix, this is bad! I have so much I want to say about this show, yet watching it has also rendered me completely speechless. And it's not in the same way where I totally memed my Cinderella review. No, this is different. This is personal, so excuse me, I'm gonna be ranting for a little bit. To me, this Cowboy Bebop remake isn't just a bad show or a bad adaptation of a great show. It's everything that's wrong with Hollywood right now. And with Netflix's Cowboy Bebop coming out, this was it. This felt like the straw that blew my back out. Before my weeb lifestyle took over, Cowboy Bebop was one of the first few anime that I watched when I was way younger, with Tank blasting my ass back up in the middle of the night. As time has progressed, Cowboy Bebop has gained a reputation for itself as being not just one of the greatest and most influential anime of all time, but also as being one of the first anime to really break out in the West. The original is so ahead of its time with its animation, themes, structure, plot, characters, even its representation. I don't want to get too much into the original Cowboy Bebop itself. I mean, of course, naturally, I'm gonna have to talk about it when comparing it to Netflix's Cowboy Bebop, so spoiler warnings for both, I guess. But if you haven't watched the original Cowboy Bebop, please, 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 please do yourself a favor. It is on Netflix now. I think it's still on Hulu. Basically, everything that Netflix has done with their version of Cowboy Bebop feels like a complete bastardization in all facets. So, let's talk about this little bastard then. Every character in this remake gets all of their depth sucked out of them and are either turned into a completely uninteresting version of themselves or are totally watered down. Some of the changes are neat in concept, but they're executed in about as safe as you can possibly make it. I do like the casting of John Cho, Mustafa Shakir, and Daniela Pineda as Spike, Jet, and Faye, but they're just given the worst dialogue. You can tell in some episodes that they have some genuine chemistry with each other, and they're doing the best that they can with what they're given. It's not all totally dog shit, but the same can't be said when the story moves over to Julia and Vicious. Wow. Just wow. With the Bebop crew, you could at least point out a couple glimmers of decency here and there. I mean, they're few and far in between, and it's also like trying to find a needle in a stack full of needles. This shit goes from a CW show to a soap opera so fucking fast whenever these two are on screen. There is nothing redeeming about any of this. The acting gets worse, the dialogue gets worse, it looks worse, even the editing gets worse.
Find this bounty hunter.
In all fairness, they weren't really characters in the original, and they were more just used to prop Spike up and give him more depth and story. So I guess, in a way, I admire the risks that they were taking and I admire the changes, but I don't know if that's like a genuine admiration that I have, or if it's just me needing some copium right now. Most of the time, this shit is just so painful to sit through, but sometimes it's so bad that it's kind of impressive. The entire cast really does deserve some sort of award for being able to deliver some of these lines, because, you know what, I'm just gonna take a step out for a second, just so that way you guys can be able to hear some of this. So, excuse me for just a second, and just so you know, these lines make just as much sense with context as they do out of context. So You won't be missing out on much. I'll be right back. I'm probably gonna go get some water.
Sounds to me like blackmail.
Damn right it is, because Chad, you are black and you are man.
Don't you ever tell me I'm not man. You'll never know true power until you've tasted the testicles of a man who's wronged you.
No shit, trees, it was nutbags.
I'll tell you what else is nutbags.
Welcome to the ass, motherfuckers!
Not Ichabod.
Escape pod.
Hold on, wait. Pause. Not escape pod. Not Ichabod. Nick-abod. The original Cowboy Bebop was never trying this hard to be quirky or being unintentionally cringy, and this is anime we're talking about here. English dubs in anime are notorious for being kind of cringe, but with the original Cowboy Bebop, that's considered to be one of the greatest English dubs, if not the greatest English dub of all time. And why is that? That's because of its voice acting, and that's because of its writing. There are so many quiet and still moments in it. There's nuance and subtext. Characters don't need to say anything, yet you still know that there's something going on, and that someone is feeling something. In this version, the actors feel like they're reading off of a transcript from a game of Quiplash. Everyone just obnoxiously says how they feel all the time, and there isn't just one crumb of subtext to be found here. There are so many scenes from the original that get recreated that aren't able to retain that same emotional feeling because the writers just aren't able to let the scene ride out, let characters' actions or even inactions speak. Hell, even let the fucking music speak too! The music in Cowboy Bebop is just as much of a character as the Bebop crew is. Yoko Kanno's original score, that also happened to invent jazz, is iconic. It elevated scenes and provided those moments with even more depth that it already had. While the music in the remake is still pretty good, the characters trip and fall over each other so much to throw a quip out there and are given such bad lines that you lose focus on that music. Finally, the biggest reason why this remake fails is simply because it's not fucking animated. I don't even have to pull up a scene here, honestly. All I have to do is pull up the opening. It just blows my fucking mind that you can point a camera at somebody running in 2021 and it'll still look more stiff and awkward than a drawing in 1998. Cowboy Bebop visually is one of the most timeless anime ever. But yet they somehow still managed to fuck that up in live action. It looks uglier. The shot composition is ugly, and Bo Burnham's inside manages to have better lighting than this shit. It feels like every single scene in this fucking show gets shot at a Dutch angle. Why? I want to let it be known that when it comes to these remakes or reboots or re-shitting my pants or whatever, I don't expect it to be a completely faithful frame-by-frame recreation of the work in question. If anything, I want these remakes to take liberties and to be able to stand on their own. But not like this. Would Netflix have ever been able to capture that same magic that the original had if they stayed more faithful? I mean, honestly, probably not. But that's just a deeper issue with all of these remakes, because all the problems that I have with this new Cowboy Bebop are all the same problems that other live-action remakes have. Part of the magic that animation has is more simple than people realize. It's because it's fucking animated! At its best, animation allows for freedom in movement, visuals, expression, and so much more that you can't get away with in live action. Animated movies are the first type of movies that I fell in love with and are the reason I have such a big passion for film in general. That ability to have more freedom and be more expressive through animation is such a huge advantage when it comes to making these movies and shows that much better, that when you try to take that away with a live-action remake, it's like trying to ice skate uphill. But for some reason, the majority of Western audiences still have the stigma that animation is just for kids, because it's just a cartoon. For decades now, animation has told some of the most emotional, poignant, uplifting, tragic, relaxing, violent, exciting, iconic stories to date. And yet people are still like, nah bro, this shit is for babies. Like, what the fuck, bro? What are you on? Even animation that is aimed more towards kids, it shouldn't be brushed aside. And I don't want to come across as acting all high and mighty or looking down on you if you don't want to watch anime or don't like anime. You don't have to like anime. But what I'm talking about is this fucking Sigma male grind set that people have with animation thinking that it's for kids. It's the reason why these studios keep pumping out these shit remakes. The only times an anime / manga live action remake has ever worked out was with Alita Battle Angel and with Edge of Tomorrow. Or Live Die Repeat, or All You Need Is Kill, or whatever they're calling that movie now. But even then, there are still asterisks there. With Alita, the best parts of those movies are basically all animated anyways. You can throw the rest of the movie in the trash, if I'm being honest with you. And with Edge of Tomorrow, it's distanced itself so far from the original source material that, I mean, it doesn't even know what to fucking call itself anymore. You would think that after countless attempts, these studios would realize that 99.9% of the time, these remakes do not work. They just keep desperately clinging on to that 0.1% that it will work, and they will keep trying and trying and trying and trying and trying and desperately trying until the world explodes and we all die. There's a meme that floats around whenever a new live-action remake gets announced or dropped, and it goes like the manga, the anime, and the Netflix version. Which, it's true, and it's pretty funny. But honestly, it isn't really fair to Netflix either, because this applies to every other Hollywood studio too! You can also argue that Disney is holding it down for animation in the West. But are they really though? Can you really say that about Disney when they're also remaking their own animated works? And whenever Disney drops one of their soulless remakes and everyone goes to see them, what's the first thing everybody says when they're done watching it? Oh yeah, that was pretty alright, but I think I like the older one better. Like really think about it. The trailer to the new Spider-Verse movie just dropped, and let me preface what I'm about to say by letting y'all know that I'm super excited for No Way Home. I think it's going to be really good, and I have no doubts that it's going to be really fun as well. With that being said, the amount of charm that Spider-Verse manages to achieve in its art and its animation cannot be replicated by No Way Home. And trust me, that is in no way me trying to put down No Way Home. It's more me trying to elevate Spider-Verse and animated movies just to show you guys how much better all of those animated stuff can be through its animation and through its art. While I do think people are starting to sniff out Hollywood's remake bullshit, it's still long overdue, and we still have plenty more remakes lined up for years and years to come. I didn't even talk about the other types of remakes that Hollywood's trying to do right now. We would be living in a sprawling fucking utopia right now if Hollywood just put the same energy and budget that they do into these adaptations and these remakes into these original, foreign, and animated movies and shows. And we as audience members have to show our support for these movies and shows that come out as they originally do, so that way Hollywood can continue to push these movies and shows. With the tease of Ed at the end of the last episode, it seems like a second season of Netflix's Cowboy Bebop is inevitable. In a way, I do hope that Netflix manages to pull off a potential second season. But if they do, then that just means it's another excuse for Hollywood to keep pumping out these soulless, shitty remakes. So you know what? I guess it'd just be better if it didn't happen. Because most of the time, these movies and shows that get remade are good enough to be watched on their own.
3 days later.
Huh. That aged pretty well. But again, this is all just my opinion. And at the end of the day, whatever happens, happens. But just because it happens doesn't mean I have to be okay with it. Anyways, I'm feeling a 1 for Netflix's Cowboy Bebop. Thank you guys for watching, as always. Make sure you leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. If you want to keep up with more videos from me, please subscribe. And yeah, thank you guys for watching again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.